It's been a while since I've done one of these Doctor Who news update videos, so there's a lot of headlines to cover today. All the way from New Who to Classic Who, or New Who as well. We've got a couple of exciting updates on the show's future. Also, sorry to time jump here, I'm sat editing this video and we've currently got some breaking Doctor Who news, which is kind of crazy, but Carol Ann Ford has actually gone on to discuss the original ending of the reality war. So I'm gonna add this section to the end of the video. If everything else bores you, feel free to skip straight there. But yeah, we finally know. We no longer have to speculate. We know what she actually filmed. Like, we'll talk about it properly later, but for those of you who don't know, I have released multiple videos talking about what possible original endings there were, what leakers were saying, what rumours there were, but yeah, it's been confirmed. Susan was supposed to appear more in the original cut of the reality war. They filmed it, they shot it, but for various reasons didn't get used. Stay tuned to find out what that original ending was and why it didn't get used. As I say, I'm going to add that to the end of this video, so it's probably going to be a long one. Sorry, guys. We've also had the tabloids reporting some beef, if you want to call it that, between the producer and the writer of Doctor Who. And has the cat just been let out of the bag that this face is not, in fact, a new incarnation of the Doctor? Rather, this is just the return of Rose Tyler. But for you classic fans out there, we are going to be discussing the missing episodes again. This is the ongoing saga, but we are so close to at least one episode being returned. I genuinely reckon maybe by the end of the year. Optimistically. And also it's quite funny, at a time where, as I've mentioned, it seems like some Classic Who is going to be returned, some missing episodes returned. There's a lot of people up in uproar. They are in uproar at the fact that they think some classic Doctor Who is being destroyed or rewritten or undone by the BBC, so we're going to be covering all of that as well. But let's just dive straight in. First up, we'll discuss this Millie Gibson story. Back in January of 2023, it was being reported, this was before the 60th came out, before Season 1, before Season 2, before any of that came out, it was being reported that Gibson would be leaving at the end of Season 1. Like, this was a surprise, because we knew it was only going to be like 8 episodes long, and everyone was like, that's weird to leave after 8 episodes, which did actually happen. But the big problem here is that a lot of the headlines were branding her a diva, or like just a rude person behind the scenes. We'll read Gibson's direct quote in a minute, but I think, from my perspective at least, what's happened here is somebody close to the production team knew an element of truth. They knew that Millie Gibson would be leaving after 1 season. Now, I personally don't think that was always the plan. I'm not here to speculate, and neither should you, on why things changed around. It could be scheduling, it could be any world of thing, but if you listen to the Robot Revolution audio commentary, Russell talks about how he'd conceived the Robot Revolution as a one-off special episode. Rather than introducing a new companion, it would be the Doctor plus a guest star. And when do you do special episodes? Christmas. Stephen Moffat has also talked about the fact that Russell just ran out of time to write the 2024 Christmas special, so he called Stephen and said, can you just do Joy to the World to fill that gap? And I think originally the plan was to have Robot Revolution as the Christmas special, and then we pick up with the Doctor and Ruby for Season 2. Alan and Conrad are kind of the same archetype, so I think it's quite clear that something happened behind the scenes. We don't know what, and I'm not even saying it was bad. It might have just been a change of creative vision. But as I say, the big problem here was that whoever wrote this or found this original story took one element of truth, that she would be leaving earlier than anticipated, and built this idea that behind the scenes Millie Gibson was a diva. MovieWeb break this down in Doctor Who star reflects on frustration over horrific lies about their diva attitude and show exit. But what does Millie Gibson actually have to say on the matter? Well, she stated in a recent interview that she couldn't be like, it's a lie, because they, as in Bad Wolf, the BBC and Disney, would be like, well, that's spoilers. Now, that quote there is something that has sparked a lot of debate on Twitter about, are the production team behind Doctor Who prioritising the saving of spoilers over actors' careers? Because it kind of reminds me of Eccleston in 2005, where like if as an actor you are branded a diva or difficult to work with, that's going to stop you getting jobs in future. Which luckily this didn't seem to stick with Millie Gibson, so who knows truly what happened. And I also don't quite understand why Bad Wolf couldn't just say, this isn't true. She's not a diva. Because that's not a spoiler. Do you know what I mean? She says it was quite hard to stand up for herself without ruining the show. She was like, oh, this is horrific because it just looks like it's true. Oh, it was awful. What was frustrating was the amount of people that were like, oh, sorry this has happened, mate. But I was like, yeah, it's not, but thank you. I do think as well there were a lot of fans, especially, it's always Twitter. If you're not on Twitter, don't get it. It is a horrible, horrible environment of people, especially sometimes. Don't get me wrong, there's so many lovely people in the Doctor Who community, more lovely people than bad, I don't believe in bad people, but people who are not nice online. There are more good than there are bad, but there are so many people online who are just aggressive, and they jumped on this sort of stuff. So many people who are happy to throw out allegations without actually knowing people or the truth behind these stories. So I think as a fandom, not that this will even change anything, but everybody just try and be nice. Great one, Joe. You've just solved all conflict ever. Everybody be nice. But why was Peter Purves' name thrown around recently? Well, he has apparently claimed that this is not Doctor Who. Peter Purves hits out at modern series. Look, I've seen this headline about 7 times over the past couple of days. They've done this quite a lot, where they find a older companion actor from the classic show and go, this actor says new Doctor Who is bad, which isn't really what's been said. The exact quote from Peter is, this isn't the Doctor Who I recognise. I don't really watch it anymore. It was very different back in my day. It was serialised. It was like a kids' programme. It was more simple. He liked it when it was just straightforward entertainment, which a phrase like that can easily help push people in a certain narrative of, oh, let's make this about the culture wars. But realistically, he does also praise it, saying like it looks very good, although he is worried that they focus on the look of it more than the storytelling, which, yeah, it's not really a major story. So if you see these headlines, no, Peter Purves isn't pulling a Christopher Eccleston and saying, sack everyone at Bad Wolf. He literally returned for Tales of the TARDIS, and he says in this interview that he would return if asked again. Anyway, next story, rapid fire. This one's just a quick one, but quite a fun one. I went onto Twitter the other day and saw that everybody was talking about, oh, wow, gravity is now a thing. Mavity has been forgotten. When the events of the reality war took place, all those little things shifted in time, and one of those was Mavity back to gravity. Because the Doctor Who press team, they do these little online things, they put out this. Hi, I'm still getting the autocorrect bug on my computer since the Mayday incident. Very annoying. Can you remind me how to turn it off, please? Also, is gravity even a word? I don't think this means it's changed. You can read this in many ways, but the joke here is that autocorrect is saying gravity, but they still remember the word mavity. So I mean, you decide in the comments. Does this mean mavity is back to gravity? Not that it matters at all, but let me know. Now, briefly touching on the missing episodes again, I will once again link in the description the Missing Episodes podcast by a guy called Tim. Tim actually talked with Film is Fabulous, who are the charity that are preserving all these films, and Sue from Film is Fabulous knows that there are multiple episodes of Doctor Who in private collections out there. In the episode of the podcast I will link, Tim and Sue have this discussion in which they say that at least one episode they almost had their hands on, and they were going to catalogue this film collector's entire collection because apparently it's in a somewhat vulnerable state. Some of the films could deteriorate if not looked after properly, and he's got thousands of them. But unfortunately, this collector passed away, so the rights to all his films and all his property go to the people who were looking after him. Now, Film is Fabulous are currently in talks, and now that they've got a charitable status, they'll be able to hopefully acquire these tapes and then very, very soon hand They hope there's more, but it may just be one episode of Doctor Who, hand that back to the BBC, meaning relatively soon we could be seeing at least a missing episode. Let me know which one you hope that is in the comments. As I say, I'll keep you updated on the whole missing episode saga. But yeah, that's just pretty exciting that I reckon relatively soon. I'm not going to necessarily say by the end of the year, but if I'm being incredibly optimistic, I'd say by the end of the year. But that's probably wrong. That is just me speculating. The work that Film is Fabulous do is exceptional, so go and check all of that out for more. Speaking of Classic Who though, a lot of people are quite angry at the release of the latest Doctor Who, I was about to say steelbook, it's not a steelbook, like Blu-ray box set, which they've been releasing seasons of Classic Who for years now, but they've started AI upscaling all of these episodes, and a lot of people aren't happy. One of the best video comparisons I'll also link in the description, you can see on screen it's just titled, Is AI Worth It? And they've screen grabbed a bunch of, which I'll put a couple of them on screen, shots where AI has arguably made the film look worse. Because what AI is doing in this instance isn't just highlighting details that are already there and bringing them to the forefront, making them sharper, it's just completely guessing at what details are there and making its own thing. It's taking the actual image and then completely making its own one without the film grain, with these weird straightened teeth or plastic looking shots. A lot of people keep making jokes that, oh, it looks like plastic, it's autons, etc., which I do completely understand. It removes as well, like you can see here, it's made the floor like pristine and sharp rather than a little bit rugged. Yeah, the technology doesn't quite work. I don't want to go after the VFX artists or the people doing this because they're going to be doing it on a shoestring budget. Like, this is classic Doctor Who getting more funding from the BBC. I mean, the main show, which we will be talking about in a minute, isn't getting any funding at the moment. It is actively worse than the original cut. And nobody's watching Classic Who to have it in like Ultra HD. We don't need 4K Classic Who. That's not the point of it. If anything, if it was in 4K, it would look worse. These props, these sets, these costumes look so much better with grain and the way they were intended to be viewed. So in my personal opinion, I don't think the AI upscale is actually worth it. I think it creates more problems than problems that it solves, but let me know your thoughts on that in the comments, because there are people out there who want to see it in like Ultra HD, they can put it on a big screen, but I don't know, that ruins the charm of Classic Who for me. Like, I wouldn't want 2005 Eccleston Doctor Who to be completely redone, AI upscaled, and you lose the sort of Vaseline smudged on the camera lens look of those early 2005 cameras. Like, it's a product of its time and it should stay that way. We don't need to George Lucas prequel this, like, well, not prequel, sequel this, where you just go back and remaster, just leave it as it was. It was a roaring success at the time because that's the product that was created, that's the product that we want to see. But that's just my take on it. I understand both sides. Let me know what you think of the AI upscaling in the comments section. Now for the beef, the drama. Because actually, there isn't really any drama. This is what all these headlines always boil down to. Like, I see people on Twitter discussing it. Watch the actual footage of these quotes, and you will see a vastly different context to the way that the media always makes it out to seem. Because when you read a quote, it's very different from hearing the person actually say it. One example is this article here. Doctor Who producer says show will change, but blasts rude writer who claimed it was as dead as we've ever known it. Now, there's two bits here that need to be contextualised. I did talk about it in my prior video, but writer Robert Shearman recently came out to say that Doctor Who is as dead as we've ever known it. And what he means by that, which I do agree with and does completely make sense and is not rude, is that back in the Wilderness Years, back in Classic Who, when Doctor Who stopped, you had the Adventures of the Seventh Doctor continue in expanded media. The problem with Doctor Who currently is that it hasn't got funding, we don't know when it's coming back, and we don't even have a Doctor to continue the show with. Let's say the show was off-air for 10 years. You can't continue the Adventures of the 15th Doctor and Belinda because they've had their ending. The Seventh Doctor and Ace walked off into the sunset, so their characters could be continued for many, many years in Big Finish, or in comics, or in novels. Whereas Doctor Who has just ended. And as I say, like Jane Tranter, we'll talk about it more in a minute when we listen to her exact quotes, but it's quite possible that Billie Piper isn't the Doctor and is just Rose Tyler returning, and if that's the case, we literally don't have a current Doctor, so Robert Shearman, quite understandably, was just saying, it's a weird position for the show to be in. We don't know what the future is, we don't know if it is on a mini hiatus at the moment, and if it is, there's no Doctor to be expanded upon as the show stands currently. But this quote, out of context, because I don't think Jane Tranter had heard it, was just said to her while she was on the radio. Now, I will play you the clip of Jane Tranter so that you can hear how she says all of her quotes.
It was as dead as we've ever known it.
As dead as we've ever known it. That's really rude, actually, and really untrue. I think maybe he didn't see the final episode.
The fact that she says there, maybe he didn't see the final episode, he's directly referencing the final episode. This is what I mean. This is like a miscommunication.
With the great big tease that Russell T Davies laid out there, with the return of Rose Tyler.
But here she says, laid out with the return of Rose Tyler. Is that a slip? Because if anybody, like, it's quite apparent to me, at least, maybe Billie Piper, she's a good actress, is just acting. But in any of the clips we've covered in any of my prior videos about Billie Piper being asked, are you the Doctor or are you Rose? I don't think she has a clue. And honestly, I don't know if Russell has a clue, but if Russell does know, one of the only other people on this planet that will also know, whether it's Rose or the Doctor, is Jane Tranter. And she's just said there, quite confidently, with no stuttering or mystery, Rose Tyler's back.
With the return of Rose Tyler.
I think it's a very 50-50 here. I think this is a solid indicator that it could be Rose Tyler rather than Billie Piper, but also big part of my brain's going they don't even know. Russell doesn't know. It was like a throw of the dice at the last minute. Let's keep the show in the public eye. Let's keep the show. Let's get it renewed. So I don't think Billie, Russell or Jane knows. But maybe, if they do know, it's looking likely that it's Rose.
BBC and BBC Studios had a partnership with Disney Plus for 26 episodes.
She also says in this interview they had a partnership with Disney Plus, rather than they have. Does that mean anything? It's so difficult to know because she is talking... Obviously, this is the thing. Everyone's talking about the hiatus. In the mind of Disney, or at least this is how it's being packaged to us at the moment, in the mind of Disney, The War Between the Land and the Sea is kind of Series 3 of Doctor Who, so once that's gone out, they're going to decide on the future. But Doctor Who can't be on hiatus when there's still a spin-off to come. That's at least the line they're running with.
It's a 60-year-old franchise. It's been going for 20 years non-stop since we brought it back in 2005.
She also talks about the fact that Doctor Who is a 60-year-old franchise. I've said this no end of times. People who are like, oh, Doctor Who's never going to come back. It's clearly going to come back at some point. We don't know when. We don't know if it's going to be with this team. Jane Tranter does say in a second that it is with this team, with Russell, with Bad Wolf, with her. But even if not, it will be back. It's survived for 60 years. This is not the end of the show forever. We covered it back in summer, but Tom Spilsbury, the former editor of the official Doctor Who magazine, who obviously will have some sort of close connection with the current show, did say at the time that nobody really knows. Jane Tranter is also quoted as saying that Bad Wolf won't be the first to hear about the continuation of Doctor Who, it will be Disney Plus and the BBC. Russell also said in summer he's not involved in all these discussions at the moment, he is just the writer. I do think the current status, they are all just on hold. In an ideal world, the spin-off would have been coming out now, they'd have been filming season 3 with Shooty, that would all be coming out next year, but it hasn't happened. It's on pause, there's not huge updates here, But there's a couple of little things there which maybe hint at knowing where the future goes. It's certainly interesting, but I do think that the confidence Jane is talking with here about Russell, Bad Wolf and them lot coming back, I do think it's only a matter of time. I reckon, I wouldn't even be surprised if November 23rd, maybe they say Doctor Who will be back with a special with Billie Piper in da-da-da-da-da.
It will change in some form or the other, but the one thing I think we can all be really clear of is that the Doctor will be back, and everyone, including me, including all of us, just has to wait patiently to see when.
I think we're closer to finding out than not finding out when Doctor Who will be returning. And then, before you go, as I said, there was some breaking news. Carol Ann Ford has described her unused Doctor Who finale scene. So, this is the Reality War. Really quick recap for anyone who doesn't know. Originally, the Reality War wrapped in, I think, May of 2024, ready for its 2025 transmission. Something went wrong behind the scenes. Ncuti Gatwa, we don't know why, but decided to up and leave Doctor Who before Season 3. Before the recommissioning, meaning that they had to go back to the Reality War and reshoot the entire ending again to accommodate for a regeneration, which led to Billie Piper, which led to all of this. But as I say, let's read this article. Carol Ann Ford has told us the original ending. Actress Carol Ann Ford, who plays the Doctor's granddaughter, described an unused scene she filmed for the Doctor Who Season 2 finale, The Reality War, while being interviewed by fellow Doctor Who actress Katie Manning at Club Parramatta in Sydney. I've probably butchered that, sorry Australians. On the 12th of October 2025, Manning introduced the question of Susan's origins by asking Ford about her Doctor Who character Susan. Did you know who your mummy was? Which is an odd question, but there's a reason she asked that question, because Ford answered by describing a scene she filmed with Sienna Robin Mavanga Phipps, who played the Doctor and Belinda's daughter, Poppy. In the story, she's brought into being via the Wish World. She's a copy of a space baby. It's all kind of timey-wimey. The 15th Doctor, in the ending we've currently got, ends up sacrificing himself to save Baby Poppy, and Baby Poppy then becomes Belinda's child. But that's not what was supposed to happen. As widely speculated, Ncuti was supposed to stay on. He didn't die, he didn't regenerate, Billie Piper wasn't at the end of this episode. So what happened? Carol Ann Ford says, you didn't see the episode, which was to sort of introduce my coming back. So the Reality War was her big moment. Like, she got put in the Interstellar Song Contest and it didn't quite make sense, but this is what it was setting up. She was holding hands with Baby Poppy, and they were watching through the window somewhere where the audience wasn't supposed to know where we were supposed to be. So, yeah, maybe they shot that on green screen or something, but in a mysterious location, which would be revealed eventually, Susan and Poppy stood watching. And we were watching my newly embodied grandfather, who was now Ncuti Gatwa, and watching him have a wonderful time singing and dancing in a party in a shop opposite where we were. Now, originally there'd been rumours and leaks and discussion about the Vlinks in Unit HQ being a DJ. We did actually have this leaked picture, which you can see on screen at the bottom of the article as well. But it would appear it wasn't unit headquarters, it was this club party place. Possibly the same club that the Doctor and Ruby were in the church on Ruby Road, maybe tying all of that together. And she says, obviously my character Susan, was longing to just go there and fling her arms around her grandfather and say, Grandfather, how lovely to see you after all this time, and how did you survive your floating about in space, and why have you changed? And that would have been your big, shocking cliffhanger going into this year's Christmas special, which now doesn't exist, sadly. I mean, I can't believe we're not getting Doctor Who at Christmas. What a letdown. This is a whole... I mean, the article's not over yet, but this is a whole, like, diversion of where the show's gone. There'd be no Billie Piper. It would be a big Susan plot twist. I'm telling you now, she is supposed to be the boss. Anyway, says Carol Ann Ford, that was unfortunately not to be. For reasons I know and will not disclose, Ford continued. What reasons? What happened behind the scenes? Obviously it's shooting out was exit, but surely she could have said that because that's public information. But maybe she's being respectful and doesn't want to talk about any of the actors or say anything that would cause tabloid speculation, so we've got to take her at face value on that. But it's fascinating. I don't know why, but this is kind of blowing my mind. We kind of knew this. This had leaked. It was slightly wrong, like a unit with the DJ links and all that. That's not quite right, but it was along these lines. And I can't lie. Maybe this would have been a better place for the show to go. It would have certainly been controversial. It does explain as well why in The Empire of Death, the Doctor has that line to Kate where he's like, I've got grandkids, but I haven't had them yet, or something, and it's all timey-wimey, and it's just bizarre that this is the point the show was building to, and it's been completely changed. Like, will they pick up this plot thread with Billie Piper in the future? Will there even be a future? Let me know what you're thinking in the comments down below. I hope you enjoyed. Please like, comment, share, subscribe, all the usual if you're enjoying this content. Thank you very much, and goodbye.
Don't forget to click below and subscribe to the official Confused Adipose YouTube channel.
I will destroy you!
She's not seen a single episode.
No, I've watched your episodes.
Keep these sonic screwdrivers.
What else am I saying about the film? Don't watch this one.